Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so KD was traded to the Rockets for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the number 10 overall pick in this year's draft, and 5 second-round picks. Not sure of the framework around those second-rounders. Just KD by himself, nothing else has been reported. But you know how trades can be. They may add something or subtract something from it. And I'm not really sure what the contracts look like in regards to Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green. I think Jalen Green, from what I understand, is going to be a free agent at the same time Kevin Durant is. And if I'm not mistaken, Dillon Brooks signed a 4-year deal 2 years ago. I think that's how that went. You know, there's a lot of things that I can look at here. I think Kevin Durant, you want to be very respectful of what he's accomplished and what his skills still are, and how fluid of an athlete he can still be, shooting the ball and scoring just in general. He's still able to garner a great deal of gravity and create a lot of opportunities for others as well. Defensively, he's not the same guy, but you know, his length, his ability to be switchable in different lineups makes him very active in a good team defensive situation. He is 37 years of age, and so you'd expect he would retire someday soon. But judging by how well he fits on a basketball court, I don't think he's going to retire within the next 2-3 years. Probably, maybe he'll play till he's 40 like LeBron and call it a career. I'll get past here and then we'll talk a little further. But you know, for me, looking at this situation, the first thing that came to mind, to be honest with you, was, okay, so Phoenix didn't have a lot of first rounders, any first rounders really. So giving up 5 seconds could be equivalent to, like, depending on how you look at it, 2 first rounders, maybe 2, 1. But for me, I'm not really certain, man, to be honest with you, if this is a good trade for the Houston Rockets. Because what you're doing is you're giving away a potential upswing scorer. And what I mean by upswing is a guy who has a lot of time left to play in Jalen Green. Not a perfect player, but a supreme athlete. And somebody who you firmly expect gives the Phoenix Suns some sort of future from which to build around. Him and Devin Booker, I don't think work at all. But you don't really worry about that too much if you're Phoenix. You just need to get some valuable stuff, some valuable young athlete in place. You could retrade him for something, right? And so that's key, is to get back equal value for Kevin Durant. And I think they got back probably more than what Kevin is actually worth. Now, I hear a lot of people saying the Rockets got fleeced. Fleeced is a stronger word than I'd use, but I do not believe they won the trade. I don't believe they won the trade. I think Houston has been on the verge of acquiring a old guy for years now. We've been talking about how Houston has been wanting to, you know, the ownership doesn't find it necessary to value young players like his circumstances ultimately became, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Most teams would love to have the young talent that Houston has. And while Houston still retains a phenomenal amount of young talent, they gave up probably their most fluid scoring player and most developed young player, arguably, not named Alperen Sengun, for a guy who's probably going to retire within the next 3 years, who hasn't been able to be a part of a championship situation in many years, and a guy who's had Achilles tears and knee injuries and stuff like that over the course of his career. It's just, I personally think Houston didn't give up what you would consider too much necessarily as it pertains to the young talent that they have. There are ways you could really botch this trade if you're Houston by tossing in a plethora of young players and stuff like that. They didn't do. So I think they did better than maybe my worst nightmare was for them when I would complain about the rumors of them trading away young players for old guys. But this speaks to maybe something that they have as a philosophy, and maybe is counterproductive to the overall current state of where the NBA is, and where they were as one of the leaders in that conversation. This is ownership's philosophy about players from his era, the era that he watched coming into buying into this league, and believing in the name more so than believing in the development of young players and the sustainability of success. It's a rush. I need to do it now. He's been like that the whole time. It's essentially what I'm saying to you. The owner has always had this idea that he just needed to get older. I thought the Dillon Brooks contract from the jump spoke to that for me. When you're drafting guys like Terry Eason and Cam Whitmore, and then you got Dillon Brooks slipped in ahead of him, picking up Josh Green. I just didn't understand some of the decisions that ownership was hell-bent on making for his team. And this is yet another one for me. I just don't like the philosophy of, we got 12, 22-year-olds, but we just need to have a 37-year-old big name guy in order for us to feel comfortable with what we have. I don't agree with that. I think the NBA Finals is showing us that that's not what necessarily works. When you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder and how they've built a sustainable process of gathering picks, drafting, and moving forward with just good quality role players, signings to go along with your high-level young 22-year-olds. I just think that that's a more sustainable way to build. You can see Oklahoma City being in the finals for the next 7 years. And with the pick equity that they have in place, they're also able to be interchangeable with some of those young guys, just in case they lose them in free agency. They can replace them with young, fresh legs that just keep them rolling, and allows for them to build very special defensive unit that is so special because they picked and plugged everything that they were trying to envision through the draft with high lottery talent. And I just think that that's really the way to build something quote unquote super. The Rockets have that, but the owner doesn't find himself pleased with it, and so that's a little frustrating for me. But you always knew this day was coming for the Houston Rockets because of it. You always knew that they were going to find a way to grab a name, not necessarily a winner, although I'm not saying KD is not, but just in general what they were aiming for was not necessarily a winner, but just somebody who had a big name, who's had a big name for 20 years. He wanted that type of dude. And it just speaks to ownership getting in the way, if I'm being completely honest with you. Just getting in the damn way. And so I don't like it. Both of these owners who are involved in this trade are like that, as we can clearly see in Phoenix. They're trying to undo the mistakes that they made following ownership down the path of doom. And Houston is trying to follow in the footsteps of the Phoenix Suns to the same fate. I'm not doubting that Kevin Durant can be a very nice player for them next year. But after that, all bets are kind of off. He may enter free agency, just leave Houston. He may stay there, age there, and then just kind of drive the young players into a space where they're constantly feeding him the ball instead of developing further from where they're at. This is going to become a situation where Kevin Durant, though he's a very fluid player, unselfish player, it becomes a situation where now you're asking him to take care of circumstances that you want them to experience and go through themselves. And that's kind of how I look at it. So it's like, just KD will bail us out. No, you got to figure this out, because you guys are going to be the stars of the league tomorrow. So I don't know. I just think that ownership is his philosophy is in play here. And as I've been saying on this channel about that, I just think it's the opposite way to build. It's the opposite way to really do your thing. So And then Kevin Durant likely is either going to want to get paid more than what he's supposed to be getting paid due to his legacy, or he's going to retire in your uniform, as to which that value does dissipate. Now, that's not as big of a deal for a team like Houston, who's rich in young talent, who does still have picks. It's not as imperative for them as maybe it was the Lakers prior to the Luka trade, that they be careful in allowing LeBron to retire in their uniform, because he would dissipate in value and you wouldn't get nothing for his absence. That's not necessarily as big a problem for the Houston Rockets right now, but if they start trading away young players even further, that could become something that we really have to discuss about them, in regards to them. So, yeah, man. And to me, this is a bit lateral for the Houston Rockets as well. You're giving away Jalen Green, who's basically a 30-point scorer. Not nearly as consistent as Kevin Durant, but you weigh that against Kevin Durant's possibility of getting hurt again, his age, the length of time that you expect Kevin to be in your uniform versus Jalen Green, who's literally just like starting his career. It equals out to a lateral move when you're considering what you're going to get on the court. Kevin Durant is not half as athletic as Jalen Green. Never was. He's a great athlete when he was younger, but like Jalen Green's a different level. And so when you're talking about moving Jalen Green, it just doesn't really make much sense to me. And so that's really where my point of view is in regards to this trade. I don't think I get it. If I'm moving different pieces that don't score as much, then it's not considered lateral. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm bringing in more scoring in those defensive non-scorers' stead, so to speak. But I'm not necessarily interested in moving like Amen Thompson or Alperin's a scorer, but I'm not necessarily looking to move Terry Eason and Amen Thompson for that to make sense either. So if I had to choose one of the kids I'd get rid of, it probably would be Jalen, just because he is a bit of a wild card. Tends to be a black hole shooting the ball. So in the spirit of that being a problem, you probably did bring in somebody just in general who's going to be better for that. A better 30-point scorer, more consistent, more cerebral 30-point scorer than Jalen Green. So I don't think he's necessarily, his absence in KD's stead is on the court any type of negative, but it just becomes, all right, which one do you expect to be more healthy over the next several years? Who's going to be around for the next several years? Who's going to grow with the young talent that you have for the next several years? Jalen Green's the answer to that question every time. And so, I don't know, man. I don't know. For the Phoenix Suns, I think it depends on what Phoenix is trying to accomplish. I'm not really sure what Phoenix wants to do, because they picked up Kevin Durant in the first place, picked up Bradley Beal on the no trade clause in the first place. I don't really understand what they're doing, but what I do see is a step in the right direction with them acquiring 5 second-round picks, the number 10 overall pick. Jalen Green, if they can re-sign him, this looks like they definitely won the trade, but it looks like something that could be sending them in the right direction. And so that's what I take from this. This is a step in the right direction. They moved in a new GM in Phoenix, and I think that he's in a very good space with this first move. You want to get more than what you're sending out is worth. I think Phoenix accomplished that. Did they get as much as maybe they would have wanted to when they acquired Kevin Durant, what they were hoping to retrade him for? I don't doubt the answer is no, but they got more than what the market probably would have given them in most situations, in my opinion, for an aging Kevin Durant. Jalen Green is going to be a heck of a player to have on their team if they draft properly. I had the Rockets taking Carter Bryant. I don't know that I even changed my mock draft pick for number 10. If I'm Phoenix, I probably still would have drafted them Carter Bryant. So I don't think my mock switches up at all, if I'm being honest with you, based on how my draft board was shaping up throughout the first 9 picks. I don't doubt that they could use another small forward at this point. So I still think Carter Bryant, if he's on the board, would be a good selection for the Phoenix Suns, but the Phoenix Suns have different needs than the Houston Rockets. So without having done much thought about it, I can say that they have probably a wider range of what it is that they could use at that range. And maybe Carter Bryant is somebody to leave on the board if he's there, depending on what else is there. So, Phoenix, one thing I can say about Phoenix is that they have done a good job through the draft with second round picks and stuff like that over the last several years. I do like what they've been able to bring to them through the draft. And so now that they have a 10th overall selection, I wouldn't be surprised if they knock it out the park. Now that they've picked up 5 seconds, I wouldn't be surprised if good things happen with those seconds. They seem to be doing a decent job of putting role players in place around that impossible big three that they just broke up. I don't think Bradley Beal could potentially be on the move at all because of the no trade clause. He would have to okay anything, and not only that, but once you bring that no trade clause to you, you have that same problem. It's only like 2 years left on the deal, and I just don't see them being able to move it. Not without attaching pretty much all of those picks to get rid of it. And I don't think it's worth it to do that. Do I think they moved Devin Booker? I think they've been trying their best not to move Devin Booker, but once you bring in Jalen Green, like I said, I don't think he fits with Devin Booker. I'd move Devin Booker. I wouldn't have any problem with moving Devin Booker, to be honest with you. I would have zero problem moving Devin Booker, especially now that I got Green in place. If I can get like a handsome haul for him, I think that's a win for the Phoenix Suns. And then you just stuck with Bradley Beal and just keep him in a rebuilding situation with Jalen Green and just live with that. But at this point, you got 3 shooting guards. 3 shooting guards who need the ball in their hands, who want to shoot the ball, who don't defend. Jalen Green can defend a little bit, but not really. Booker can defend a little bit, but not really. Bradley Beal cannot defend. So it's like now the 3 biggest players they have are all in the same position. You could move him around point guard. Booker can play some 1. Jalen Green can play some 3 if you have to put him there. But like this is not ideal at all for those 3 players. Jalen Green is really going to miss playing with all those athletes, man. He's going to understand how hard his life just got. It's a bad day for Jalen Green. He got his own team, no doubt. He would not have had that in Houston going forward. And that's if they move Booker. It's not even his team if they move Booker. It's a bad day for Jalen Green. You want to go to a lot of places not named Phoenix if you're Jalen Green. I'm just being honest with you. And not only that, but if I'm the Phoenix Suns, based on what it is that Jalen Green is worth, based on my reluctance to move Devin Booker, I'm probably flipping Jalen Green at the trade deadline. I'm not letting him hit free agency. I'll tell you that. I'm not letting him hit free agency. I don't expect he's going to want to re-sign with us. Yeah, that's going to be a major thing because he's going to be a free agent from what I understand, like next summer or something like that, or the summer after next, rather. So for me, I'm flipping him as quickly as I got him. I don't think he even plays for the Phoenix Suns if I'm the GM. Now that I got him in place, I'm shopping him to see what I can get for him before the draft even starts. For whatever reason, they didn't ship him to a 3rd team. I guess they do want to go forward with him, but I don't see him wanting to be there. I don't see him wanting to be there at all. I could be wrong, but that is not. This is a guy who's been playing with nothing but supreme athletes and great defenders and a cerebral center, getting him the ball left and right. Like he's been in basketball paradise for a young player for a while now. Traded overnight, essentially, because I don't think he thought he was going anywhere. And now he's in a situation that is really dry. There's not a whole lot of athleticism on that Phoenix Suns team. There's not a whole lot of defensive players around him. His responsibilities have gone up, but his shots selection may not be as green with Devin Booker being on the team and Bradley Beal being on the team. He's a young guy smashed between those 2 losing shooting guards who are likely not happy in their situation as well. Going to be looking at him taking 30 shots, probably have words for him. That situation is going to suck. I'm telling you right now, that situation is going to suck for Jalen Green. An awful situation for Jalen Green. And so if I'm him, I'm like, look, man, y'all acquired me. You got what I was worth. I'll play half a season for y'all. Ship me out of here, man. Get me out of here now. Like literally as soon as possible. Get me out of Phoenix. I don't want to be here. I don't fit here. The people around me don't fit. The best players on this team play my position. Get me the hell out of here. That's exactly what he needs to be saying. Immediately. That's what his representation needs to be saying. Immediately. Get him out of Phoenix. And Phoenix should not have any problem with that because he's a valuable piece that they could retrade for possibly more than what he's worth. So that is ultimately what it's all about if you're Phoenix. I think. But then again, with Mat Ishbia, you never know. You never know. But I need up out of there if I'm him. So yeah, man, this is a good trade if you have a plan for everything you've traded for. If you're the Phoenix Suns, if you have a player that you're gonna get in the draft that's gonna bring all of this together somehow. Maybe you're able to snag Kamen Malawach, a rim protector for all of these people. Maybe you go with an Igor Dimin type piece or a Jeremiah Fears to kind of like facilitate the basketball around in Phoenix. Then what you can find is the guys are getting the ball a bit more. Guys are not responsible for finding one another, and none of these players are really unselfish like that, and likely won't want to defer like they did for Kevin toward Jalen. Probably see him as a threat to their spot. It's a real messy type of situation if they don't find somebody who's going to handle the basketball and divvy it to those people. I don't know. Maybe you go Derek Queen since he plays a different position in the guard. He can tend to do a little of that, but he's also somebody who needs the ball in his hands. I don't know if there's a player in this draft that you think is going to help you right away since most of them are freshmen any damn way. So all of it is just like, I hate the fit, but I don't mind the trade. You just bring in what's valuable, and you can move it around at the trade deadline to make it make more sense for yourself if you're Phoenix. So that's what I would do. The fit is not to love. It's just to get what's available, the best return for Kevin Durant. From what I understand, they were on the verge of maybe making a move to San Antonio, but they were getting back potentially Keldon Johnson and Harrison Barnes. I would have said no to that too. If I were Phoenix, I would not have done that. The Miami Heat didn't want to involve Khalil Ware. I agree with that, but if I'm holding KD, I'm also not doing a deal if Khalil's not involved. So the well kind of went dry. Jalen Green was available. I respect that. Yeah, you can go with that, but you would have preferred to maybe have a Khalil Ware to move forward with your center position while you already have all these guards. But I think at the end of the day, Jalen Green is probably a great, attractive player to acquire if you're trying to just get something very valuable. So I would say Phoenix settled, but I do think Jalen Green is a hell of a return for Kevin Durant, especially when you add the pick equity. Dillon Brooks, a respected defender. He's a much better shot maker than he was with Memphis. I didn't like the acquisition of him for Houston because they already had small forwards, but when you saw what he did for Houston, you respect what he did for Houston. I think he'll bring a lot of energy and defense and personality to the Phoenix Suns, and an edge to the Phoenix Suns that they haven't had. And I wouldn't be surprised if he put some wins on their roster, on their record that they wouldn't otherwise get without him. So I think he could be a good culture placement piece for the Phoenix Suns. Give you a lot of attitude. That's not a bad thing for a team in their situation. So I wonder how the locker room's going to go. Like I said, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. That Bradley Beal situation is awkward because Bradley don't want to leave, and everybody knows that he's kind of like the sore spot in their asset class. If they could move him, if he wasn't on that no trade clause, they could probably move him for something that could at least further their circumstance a little better. He doesn't want to go anywhere, so that's already a stain in the locker room. So I wonder if that's going to be something that the new guys don't appreciate as well. So I'm to be honest with you, man, if Phoenix really wants to do something, they just clear out. They clear out. I'm moving Devin Booker, and I'm bringing back draft equity rather. If anybody will take Bradley Beal, I'm gonna shop him. Maybe even attach a couple second rounders to make somebody take him. I'm getting that off of my books if it's possible. I don't think I include the first overall pick 10 to do it. I probably just hold on to him if people say you got to give me 10 to do it. But if you'll take a couple second rounders, give me a reasonable salary match, take that no trade clause off my books, I'll do it. If I could trade it for like Kyle Kuzma or something like that, I would do it if I'm Phoenix, just to get that off of the books, get him anywhere who would take him. But the problem is he has to okay it, and he seems to be being stubborn. But hopefully with this move, this place doesn't look as attractive to him anymore. That's essentially what you're hoping to do, is muck it up, put another shooting guard that's going to take another 30 shots in place to make the Bradley Beal want out of there, man. That's one functionality of bringing in Jalen Green. You're making it harder for Bradley Beal to be Bradley Beal in hopes that he'll waive that no trade clause for whatever deal you can give him and just be done with his contract. Because that would really help the Phoenix Suns if he would like literally leave for real. So yeah, man, that's a hard thing, but I kind of don't blame GM for doing that. I kind of don't. I might have been thinking along the same lines. We got to make this place as unattractive to this guy as possible, so that he'll just go, like literally go, bro. And it's not even that he's just some unwanted player. It's just a no trade clause, bro. The no trade clause not only draws away from what it's attached to, but it draws away from other things on the roster in terms of value, because essentially it's one thing, and I've said this many times, but it's one thing on your roster that I can't touch. So I'm going to dock you for that if I'm on the other end of the trade. I'm going to dock you for the fact that there's a salary match to an attractive player that I can't touch because you acquired him on a no trade clause. So it's like I got to settle for something else in the trade package if I'm doing a deal with you. That is leverage for me to use against you. So it's like the fact that the market recognizes this, but GMs tend not to, is a mind-blowing thing to me. And I really think it was the collapsing reality for the Phoenix Suns when they acquired that thing. It assured that they would need to move Kevin Durant, and that's why we are where we are today. If Bradley Beal was not on their books, Kevin Durant would be a Phoenix Sun, and their team would look a lot better. It's a fact. It's an absolute fact. So he's the problem, and he's making it a problem because he doesn't want to leave a situation that he probably should be willing to get the hell out of. So, it is what it is. You don't blame the guy for having a no trade clause. You blame the owner for wanting it in the first place. And this is what you got to deal with, And Washington gave him a no trade clause. Maybe you can blame Washington, but they got rid of the thing. They found a sucker to take it. So it's the sucker's problem. You can blame Washington, but Washington didn't allow it to be their problem, and that was their responsibility. So, hey, man, it is what it is. Phoenix is in disarray. They gave away picks all the way through 2031. They picked up this pick here, and Jalen Green should help with all of that if they retrade him for something that can give them more draft equity. Dillon Brooks, I don't. For me, that's more of a win now kind of piece, and I don't know that Phoenix should still want to be a win now team, but since you got Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, you're kind of stuck in that space any damn way. But you're not winning anything. You're not making the playoffs. But you also understand that in not making the playoffs, you don't have your own lottery pick. So it's bogus until they get off of Devin Booker specifically. Bradley Beal ain't going to net them much. He's just an addition by subtraction. But Devin Booker is the guy that can, if in his absence they get the right stuff, can shift their timeline, their roster, and their overall trajectory. And so that's what they really need to do. They have to move Devin Booker. And if they refuse to move Devin Booker, then their situation is going to continue to be in disarray regardless of what else is going on, because he's the only thing worth a damn. And Jalen Green now. That very much helps. So yeah, man, it is what it is, man. I don't envy Phoenix fans. I think your situation looks a bit better right now than it did this morning with Kevin Durant. I'd rather have Jalen Green going forward than Kevin Durant for obvious reasons. So there's some flower to the boo-boo, but at the end of the day, it still stinks, man. And I guess now you just see what they do next with this pick. I'm wondering if there's a world where they retrade the 10th pick for future picks to give themselves a bit more of a cushion for their future. Maybe not. Maybe you try to draft something that you can move forward with. But I do think that the most important thing for the Phoenix Suns is not necessarily acquiring young talent, but more so just getting more of a cushion for the future of their franchise. If that means bringing in a player in the draft, cool. If you're bringing in a role player, or if there's a risk that you're bringing in a role player with this very important asset, it might not be worth the risk to use it. It may be in your best interest to flip it for a future pick that could potentially be a more valuable pick, or multiple picks that give you more of an asset, draft asset class in your situation. Because that's really what it is. They need picks to be able to trade. They need stuff that's valuable. They need young stuff, but they're not necessarily sure they're going to rebuild. So do you need a player right now, or do you just need that pick to be a pick in 2028? You understand what I'm saying? That's probably a more safe way for the Phoenix Suns to go, in my opinion, if they're definitely not certain they can move Bradley Beal or Devin Booker. Me bringing in a young player, yeah, I mean, it helps some, but when you ain't got no picks between now and 2031, it becomes a situation where it's just like, I don't know. I'm not really certain that that's really where Phoenix is headed. So there's a world where you take 10, you take Jalen Green, and you try to trade it for like a more, I guess, a more developed piece that fits Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, and try to win now. But I don't know that package is valuable enough to acquire you that piece, and I don't know that you can just give away that piece in Kevin Durant. So I don't know, man. That's not the situation I'd want to be the GM over. I'm put it like this: Phoenix, I would definitely want to go for all of the jobs in the NBA as a GM before I want to be the Phoenix Suns. That's the very last job I'd want, because they have really ruined their situation, and their owner seems to be hell-bent on continuing to do things the wrong way. It's kind of where Josiah was before the Kevin Durant trade, ironically enough, when he was telling everybody he didn't want picks and he wanted players. So he traded them, ironically enough, to the Phoenix Suns for Bridges and Cam Johnson, and those are really nice players, but they didn't do nothing with the Brooklyn Nets, and that team's still in a space where they're not very good, and now they're finally doing things the right way and the future looks bright. But that's kind of where Phoenix is right now, where they're still in denial that they have to do certain things to fix their situation. Like that's where they're at. So until they figure that out, they will be nowhere, and they won't be in a position to turn the corner until they figure that out. Especially in the Western Conference. At least if Brooklyn is in the East. In the West, you would got no chance until you accept the fact that it's going to take tearing it down to build something that could actually compete. And so Phoenix fans are the ones that have to ultimately survive with a terrible team over the next however long this is, until this ownership starts to really understand what it is they've done to their franchise. Can only be fixed by breaking things down. So that's what it comes down to, man. Owners will always get in the way. Look, this is the problem with bringing in big money, and hopefully the big money guys that are coming into the league are starting to pay attention to this. But this is the biggest issue with bringing in big money, because they have such massive money. They don't respect rules at all. It's like, I can do what I want. I can just fix it with money. No, you can't throw money at this. There's something called a salary cap, asset class, competitive asset classes amongst other teams who are trying to hoard people's picks. They ain't gonna give you your picks back. They're not, once you make that mistake, it's over. Unless you're giving them something that is far more valuable than what it is you want back. So it's like, Phoenix was able to make this trade, but they weren't able to get their picks back from Houston. And if I'm not mistaken, Houston holds Phoenix's picks. I could be wrong about that. But if I'm not mistaken, Houston has some of Phoenix's first rounders. You'd have to fact check that for me. I can't use my other phone right now to see if that's true. But the point is that Phoenix still don't have their own picks. So regardless how good or bad they are, they're not going to be getting any of the young talent that's going to be flushed into this league over the next 5 years. And that is ultimately why they're not going anywhere for the next 5 years. And so that's ultimately what they need to fix. So yeah, man, Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets. I see a Houston Rockets team that's probably going to be in the same spot this year they were last year, which is a good spot in the regular season and not really doing nothing in the playoffs. They hope that Kevin Durant's going to stay healthy. I don't think it's a great bet at 37 years of age. I don't think that's a great bet. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know that they're going to miss Jalen Green. I definitely don't think they wanted to pay Jalen Green, but now they have to pay Kevin Durant, and that's probably not a better decision given his age. So, and now they don't have the pick that they were going to get this year, which I don't hate it, because moving that pick wasn't the worst thing in the world. I don't think they really needed another kid that needed to develop. But now in bringing in that 37-year-old, suddenly you would love to have that pick because you got older. You see what I'm saying? So, like, not only is it not balanced, you just ate away at a strength of yours by bringing in a guy who's 37 years of age. So that's what they did. I don't know, man. Words are important, so I don't want to just blurt out words, but I just do not like the direction that either one of these teams is going in. Either one of them. Houston has what everyone wants and can't wait to become what everyone is. It absolutely makes no sense. But it is kind of how that works in a lot of situations. And in Phoenix, they're just trying to pick up the pieces from making that mistake, from being in that space after making the NBA Finals about 6 years ago. And so, this is the worst the NBA has to offer, man. I just want to be honest and say there are some teams in this league that really need to have new ownership, more responsible ownership. And Phoenix and Houston are two of those teams for me. They need more responsible ownership, bro. Matt Ishbia is irresponsible as hell when it comes to moving around stuff in the NBA. He's the most irresponsible owner in the league. And he's not able to stop being that for the betterment of the team's fan base. And they're really going to suck because of his decisions, man. They really are. And in Houston, it's like they just can't wait to be in the space where people are saying that about them. That's what it looked like to me. It's like, I can't stand all this success. I can't stand all these young athletes. They're so damn good. Bring me somebody who's going to retire in 2 years and take picks from me and young players. It's like, yo, this is why I speak the way I do, because this is how I see these teams. They're both just the problem with the NBA. They are the problem with the NBA, yo. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching.